Hi guys, this is Asal. I'm studying for the bar and I wanted to review my notes with you. So today I'm studying professional responsibility and I'll be going over my notes on a lawyer's personal interest. I'll be talking about how to identify, avoid, and waive a personal interest conflict. The first thing I'll talk about is what is a personal interest. So in this case, you want to look at a lawyer's personal circumstance, which could be either economic or a personal relationship with the client. So Model Rule 1.7 provides the general rule for a personal interest conflict. I would read the rule for you normally, but I did not bring my book to the pool with me today. So I really suggest you look up Model Rule 1.7, which provides the general rule for the personal interest conflict. So what do I mean by this conflict of interest? I mean that there's a significant risk that the lawyer's personal interest will materially limit the representation. For example, let's say that there's a lawyer who is trying to get a job with a corporation, but is also suing the corporation. So there is a personal interest of conflict there. You can look at that in the rule 1.a, which extends to the entire firm, and also there's one exception when the lawyer has a sexual relation with the client. The next thing I'd like to talk about is a personal interest conflicts when there's a gift from the client to the lawyer. So generally, a lawyer cannot accept a gift from a client if it's like a big gift, like a house or a car or like something really expensive. But if the client is baking a cake or giving the lawyer flowers, that's a different story. So that's how you distinguish it there. So with the gifts from the client to the lawyer, there must be possible that a lawyer would improperly influence or exploit the client to acquire something of value, like suddenly a Picasso painting, let's say. So Rule 1.a limits the gifts. A lawyer may not solicit a substantial gift from the client. A lawyer may accept substantial gift only if the situation is fair to the client. And a lawyer may not prepare a document giving substantial gift to the lawyer or lawyer's relatives. So not only to the lawyer, but also it extends to the lawyer's relative. Also, this rule permits simple or insubstantial gifts as long as the situation is generally fair to the client. So this is when the client wants to bake a cake or just give something very simple like flowers. Next thing, lawyers who are related by blood or marriage. It's very noisy here. I'm trying my best to complete this video for you, so bear with me. I'm gonna try to speak louder. So back to the personal interest conflict. Lawyers who are related by blood or marriage represent potential adverse clients. So what do I mean by that? With the personal interest conflict, I mean, for example, let's say there's a husband and there's a wife and they represent opposing parties in a litigation. Or, for example, there might be a father and a daughter and they represent also adverse parties in the business deal. So you cannot do that because, you know, when two people are so close, they can really influence each other and they can give unsolicited advice or give opinions and really influence each other's thoughts. So when two people are like super close, let's say a mother and a daughter, or a father and a daughter, or a husband and a wife, these two people cannot go representing two adverse parties and be in the same home together. It's just not fair. You know, I'm sure you can understand why. And next thing, we're going to look at the lawyer's financial or business interests while representing a client. A lawyer may not acquire or negotiate publication rights to any story that's substantially based on the representation. What do I mean by that? For example, there are some cases like the O.J. Simpson case that has a lot of controversy around it, and a lawyer might want to actually publish this and make a movie out of it. So a lawyer cannot acquire or negotiate those publication rights to something like an O.J. Simpson case to be making a book out of it or some sort of a movie. Next thing, I'd like to go over Rule 1.8e, which states that generally may not provide financial assistance to a client in connection with litigation. This means that may not pay the client's living expenses and may not loan the client money. So a lawyer cannot go around loaning money to the client. A lawyer cannot go around paying the rent for a client, okay? But there are some exceptions here. If the lawyer may advance a cost and expenses subject to repayment from the settlement or the judgment, okay? So this is in the contingent fee cases. Or a lawyer may pay indigent clients' costs and expenses without reimbursement. This ensures that the indigent clients have access to the court. So this is for the indigent clients. And also you want to look at the subject of the litigation. And Rule 1.8e states that a lawyer may not acquire proprietary interest in the subject of the litigation other than a contingent fee or a legally authorized attorney's lien or for unpaid fees. Next, this model rule 1.8 also prohibits sexual relations between a lawyer and a client unless the sexual relation existed before the lawyer-client relationship began. This might create a personal interest conflict if it could materially interfere with the lawyer's representation of the client. And only conflict listed in 1.8 that is not imputed to the other lawyers in the firm. So this whole prohibition on sexual relations between a lawyer and a client, this is not imputed to the other lawyers in the firm. And also, the next thing I'd like to talk about is waiving conflicts of interest. So client provides informed consent, and waiving conflicts of interest, the lawyer believes that she can provide competent, diligent representation. Representation is not prohibited by law, and the client provides written informed consent to the representation. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. So in this video, I talked about a lawyer's personal interest. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck studying and keep safe and healthy.